First things first, we are back here with former head coach Eric Mangini. Nothing like a Monday morning with Coach in the house. Here we go, Coach. Cowboys getting ready for Thursday's Hall of Fame game on Fox. Yes, football is back in 3 days. Yes, I did all of that math myself. But Jerry Jones already laser focused on the regular season opener when his boys travel to Tampa to take on the Super Bowl champs. Take a listen to this.
Well, we're going to have a lot of prayer so that we can get the courage to show up. Let me tell you this. World champion, Tom Brady, Tampa, great atmosphere. What a better opportunity to step up there and be David against Goliath.
Let's go. Oh, my God.
The old again.
Let's go.
Fox Bet Sportsbook has Brady and the Bucs favored by 6.5 points over Dak and the boys. Drama classes are on Saturday, Jerry. Nick, what do you make of Jerry Jones going the season opener, David, against Goliath?
Oh, I hate this comment for so many reasons. And listen, I am not admittedly a biblical scholar, so I'll check after the show. But the weekend that David faced Goliath, were there 3 other matchups of a smaller man and a bigger giant happening? Because they're not even the biggest underdog of the weekend. There's 3 games with a bigger point spread than the opening night game. So I don't know how this is David versus Goliath. Also, I don't know how the Bucs, who last year there were 10 teams that had as many or more wins than the Bucs in the regular season, and the Bucs, their big offseason move was change nothing, how they all of a sudden are Goliath. And I certainly don't know how the Cowboys, with Dak Prescott coming back and all that talent, are David. But I do know this, Coach. There is no such thing as defending Super Bowl champion. That title can't be taken from you. You don't defend it. You win it. You put it in a trophy case. And every year does not start where the previous year ended. And I do think that while Tom Brady knows very well how to handle the offseason success, and Gronk does too, these other guys on Tampa, up to and including one Bruce Arians, I feel like maybe still celebrating. I know Bruce Arians always gets a lot of time in the sun, but my goodness, I feel like he's been on a beach chair with a Corona for 36 days in a row, given the colorization of his face lately. Like, I feel like Tampa maybe has enjoyed the Super Bowl, and I think the Cowboys could be ripe for an upset on Thursday night. So, no, I don't think it's David against Goliath.
As they should.
I almost teared up hearing you say what you just said, that you can't defend a championship. You got to start over. I mean, you have been listening. You are extremely coachable. I am really proud of that. Now, if we can apply that to some of your other takes during the season, it'll be fantastic. I get where this line is coming from. You've got Tom Brady, who's going to now have a preseason. You get Tom Brady, who is in the second year with the group, so there's continuity. He's not learning the system, and there's something to be said for that. And as much as they didn't do anything in the offseason, that's a plus. Typically, a Super Bowl team has a significant amount of free agents. Everybody wants to get paid, and you lose a lot of guys, and you've got to transition other guys in. So there's a real benefit there. I'd say the other benefit is the moment. And I remember after each Super Bowl win playing that first game, and there's no feeling like that feeling of when they lower the banner and the crowd goes crazy, and you remember all of the hard work that you had to put in the year before, and you get goosebumps, and it's special. So that is a real thing. It's a real element of that first game. Now, Dallas's perspective, Jerry's just setting up the we're getting disrespected narrative. He's talking like that on interviews, and I'm sure they're talking about that in meeting rooms. Nobody gives us a chance. Everybody thinks we're going to get killed. I mean, that's what this is about. But they should be in a place to at least be competitive. Now, where the biggest struggle I see for Dallas is a young defense and a new defense. They spent 8 out of 11 draft picks on defense. They brought in another 8 free agents. Dan Quinn comes in. So this defense has a total overhaul against a quarterback that eats up most defenses, and especially eats up young defenses.
Yeah, Coach, I absolutely love this. You know, if you want to read more on this, you go to 1 Samuel 17, and that's where you're going to hear this story and read the story of David versus Goliath. And if you know this story, then you know that, you know, the Tampa Bay Bucs, they are that. You got to think about it, Nick. You like, they have another year in this system. The defense isn't changing. You still have Todd Bowles. You brought back all coordinators, okay? So on the defensive side, they're actually going to be better. They had those young guys in the back end, the secondary, which is in operating a complex defense. There's so much communication between those guys, between the snaps, so they'll be better, okay? And then on the offensive side, they know who they are now. It took them until week 10 to figure out their identity. Their identity is running the football and then leaning on the pass game and situational football. That's their identity. Lean on that run. Fournette is in great shape. He's been crushing it this offseason, and he's ready to go. Tom Brady, we don't need Tom Brady throwing for 300, 350 yards a game. We don't need that. We just need Tom Brady just to manage the game and take over in the 2-minute drill. Take over when it's the first half and, you know, we're going into the locker room. We need some points there. We need 3. We need 6. That's what Tom Brady needs to do, okay? And on the other side, man, I hate to say this. You know, I'm starting to believe in the Cowboys. I really am. So David is this guy, right? Like, nobody could slay the big giant. Nobody could slay him. Nobody, right? Nobody believes. So they ran back to the city, like, hey, we got this giant. Is anybody out there can help us? And this little kid raised his hand. He said, me. And he said it with confidence, Wilds. And then he picked up his slingshot, and he picked up a handful of rocks, and he ran out there. And then he looked the giant in his eye, and he took one rock. Pow, hit him right in the forehead. The giant just fell, boom, and it was over just like that. Dak Prescott, that offense, that defense, you got Dan Quinn there. Now, we know what that defense was last year, Wilds. But if that defense can just hold up just a little bit with that offense that was averaging 498 yards a game, man, they could potentially be David. They could potentially get the job done. Not only in week 1 against Tampa, but we're talking about all year.
See, I agree with you, Brandon, and one little addendum to that story. Turns out David had a lot of film on Goliath, was looking at his previous fights, and Coach, that's what I think the key is for the Cowboys here. So Dan Quinn's got 20 years of film on Tom Brady. He's got 20 games with Tom Brady in the Bucs. They brought everybody back. And so much of the schedule around the league is about mystery. Like, hey, what are the Patriots revamp their roster? They spent $150 million. How are Julio Jones and A.J. Brown going to work together? I'm not sure. What's up with Carson Wentz? How is he going to fit in that offense? You don't know what's going to happen, and I can understand how that would be difficult for a defense. But if I'm Dan Quinn, I know exactly what Bruce Arians is going to do. I've got 20 years of tape on Tom Brady, and they brought everybody back. So to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, as a defensive coordinator, whether my guys are new or not, whether I'm new or not, I don't think there should be any surprises in what Tampa Bay is going to do, especially if they don't run the ball. And I don't think on national television in the big opening game that Bruce Arians can be like, you know what? Let's hand the ball off a little bit. Let's not let Tom Brady cook. There is an emotional element where Tom Brady's going to cook. So to me, I feel like there's no surprises. Am I being too shallow in my analysis? Do you think like, no, Bruce Arians got something up his sleeve that he's going to debut for the Cowboys?
Well, first, I just want to go back to Brendan's point about David. I don't think David had a $120 million slingshot and was shooting diamonds out of his slingshot the way that the Cowboys do with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. They spent so much money on that offense. That'd be the most expensive slingshot in the history of the world.
Right.
In terms of understanding what Tampa Bay is going to do, the first game of the year to me is always the most difficult because during the offseason you go in and you try to figure out different ways that you can improve and things that you want to change and things that you want to try. So you have no idea what's going to happen in that first game because you're practicing a bunch of things that you want to work on. They're doing the same thing, and you come out and the game unfolds. And in a game that just unfolds, Tom Brady has a huge advantage. The other thing with Dallas, with so many young players, young players get really nervous, and if you're trying to disguise coverages, they struggle with that because they just want to get to where they have to get to, and that's where a guy like Tom Brady, whether or not they know what he's in or not, he's also going to know what Dallas is in, because those young guys, like when Nick was playing poker this weekend, he was trying to bluff. You know, the young guys are trying to bluff. They're just no good at it. I don't know if Nick was any good in his bluffing either, but they're just no good at it. And I think Nick is probably better than those young guys are.
Touche, Nick.
Maybe. Maybe.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I had a point about Brady's film and Dan Quinn and the Super Bowl against the Falcons. But Coach, really, Coach, I don't really know if you know what you've just done to me in the show for the final 45 minutes. I'm trying to be a professional. Do you know how hard it was for me? I called Kevin Wildes this morning, and Wildes was like, are you calling to borrow money? And I was like, no, there's like a list of like 11 rich people before you in my call to borrow money Rolodex. You're fourth on the list, Coach, and the first two have said no. So after the show, actually, it's odd. It's Brandon and Coach are 3 and 4 of people I'm like, hey, guys, to keep it off the air. But I might need a bridge loan. So you bringing that up is really unfortunate and bad for the team. But while we're here, my PayPal is... go ahead, Jenna. Just go ahead. You can do it later.
I think you should probably borrow from Brandon. My vig is very high.